Look demure.
Demure? Oh my God.
Oh,
You know
God.
what? I actually just had to have a quick power nap. I am so tired today.
You had a power nap.
You went all quiet this afternoon, Jodie.
Yeah, I know, I went, didn't I? Kenny took my phone and everything. I went, wake me up before 8.
See, if I did that, I just would not be able to sleep tonight.
Oh, I can't wait to get in bed tonight. Okay,
No.
so we are now live, I believe, and there's probably lots of people there because we're cross-posting to lots of pages today. So we are on Kristy Forbes' page, Positive Autism Support and Training, Journeys with PDA, Autism with Love, and the Nurture Programme. So if you're watching on any of those pages, please come over to the Autism with Love page so that we have all of your questions and responses in one group. So we're not kind of faffing about looking for your questions. We'll remind you again later on in the live as well, just in case we get some new viewers along the way. And I will also pin the live on each of the pages too while Laura has a little chat.
I'm good at that.
Yeah.
Chatting.
I'm very good at chatting.
Yeah. It actually made me laugh a bit, Kristy, when you said earlier, is it an hour? And I was like, it's supposed to be. But
did I say that?
No, you asked if it was an hour, and I thought, yeah, it's meant to be. I did. It actually made me laugh a bit, Kristy. Oh, what's that? Was that you? I did a podcast with Tigger the other day.
Oh yeah.
You know, I love Tigger, and at the end, he was like, "Wow, that's like the longest podcast I've ever done." I was like, "Yeah, I do like talking quite a lot."
Oh, I did a webinar last night, and I usually cut it off at nearly 2 hours, but it could go forever. I mean, I don't even remember asking you, is it an hour? That's how much I chat. I just don't remember what I've even said.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
I'm drinking my coffee. My dog's having a little barky bark in the background, but my husband will remedy that very soon.
Because you were very nice and polite to him, and you asked him very, very nicely.
Well, he is a PDA, so I need to.
Yeah, no, I was very impressed at your wifing skills. I thought they were very impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, I was probably doing a little bit of masking as well at the time. And fawning.
Yes, definitely a bit of fawning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need some fawning lessons maybe when it comes to, yeah, maybe. Well, I don't know, with my husband maybe, not with other people. Not with other people. So, Kristy, have we spoken to you this year?
No, it was last year.
Was it last year?
Yeah.
Was it really last year? And you came into my private membership and we did a chat about advocacy in school.
Yes.
Was that last year?
Yeah. Yeah, it's gone so fast, hasn't it?
It's been a long time. So what are we talking about today?
Well, we thought it'd be good to continue our chat about parenting neurodivergent children when you are neurodivergent yourself. And since we last chatted, Jodie and I have both had our diagnosis. And I love that. Do you know, I sent you that what is it, GIF the other night, where when I've told any of my friends that are neurodivergent about my diagnosis, they're like, yeah, Laura, congratulations, that's amazing. And when I've told my neurotypical friends, they're like, oh, really? Oh, okay. Oh, are you okay, hon? And it's really interesting, like the difference in people's reaction, actually. So yeah.
I think, I mean, formally diagnosed or not, I think we know our own people, we know our own kin. And I have thought for a long time, I knew Jodie was autistic, definitely. But with you, I thought because we're still getting to know each other.
Yeah.
And also with Jodie, but I don't know. I've thought all this time, Laura cannot be that understanding. And this is not, how do I say this without offending non-neurodivergent people?
Mm.
I recognize the qualities that you have as being neurodivergent qualities, that deep empathy and that genuine interest in people and your compassion and your understanding and your openness. You both have that. And I'm not saying that non-neurodivergent people don't have that, but we have it at a different level. And I think that that's something I recognize in my kin straight away.
Yeah, definitely. And Jodie and I, we only met last summer, and Jodie invited me to her house to do it was an online conference, but Jodie said, oh, why don't you come to my house and we'll do it together.
I never normally do with random people,
Yeah,
but for some reason I just connected with Laura like the first instance we met, and it was like we've been friends our whole life.
Yeah, but we had this day together, and then we were online with Harry, Chloe and Molly Sherwin, and at the end of the conference, are you all right there, Kristy?
Just spilled coffee down my face, but yes. Sorry, it's still there.
Oh dear.
Going live, spilling coffee over myself.
And you're wearing a white top as well.
Very early
though. I know.
But no, I said to Jodie at the end of the conference, I said, we just had the best day, like all of us. Like we were messaging, there was lots of WhatsApp messages flying around between us all. And I just said to Jodie, do you know what? I realised something. I feel more comfortable with neurodivergent people than neurotypical.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting. But I also remember saying to my husband a few years ago now, because I've always just got on really well with the children that I work with, and I kind of thought it's because I'm a bit silly and I leap around the garden and I don't mind going on a trampoline and potentially wetting myself now because I'm getting a bit.
I was just going to say, can you go on a trampoline?
Not for very long. Not for very long. And I said to him, I really worry that when I get older, I'm gonna like lose that kind of connection with the children. And then I've actually realized that I'm not, because it's not my age, it's the fact that, you know, I'm
one of them.
I'm one of them.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was the same for me. Before I knew I was autistic, I've always had an affinity with children. I love children. I've always worked with children, always been around children. And my grandfather was the same. Just so great with kids, and I could see him light up around children, but avoid adults at all costs. And I just always thought, oh, I'm like this because my grandfather was this incredible human being and I've just learned from him. But actually both autistic. And never ever will I lose that silly streak and that fun streak. My husband said to me the other night, he started laughing at the dinner table and he said, it's like you've still got this prominent kid gene or something that has never gone away because I put something in my mouth and it was a bad sensory experience and I just went on the plate in front of everybody. And I think that that's a neurodivergent quality.
Yeah, I agree, and I think as well. I mean, I think there is this kind of sense of agelessness that you get, particularly with PDA. I mean, I describe the PDA children that I work with as being like adults that are trapped in children's bodies that behave like toddlers sometimes. You know, they're just, you know, and I connect with them because age it just doesn't matter. Age is irrelevant, you know. So
absolutely,
it's very interesting. Really.
I told my children's psychiatrist that I'd recently got a diagnosis, and she said, oh, that's why you're so in tune with your children.
Yeah,
it makes funny, isn't it? I remember you know, like that whole functioning labels thing. I don't subscribe to functioning labels, which, you know, severe autism, mild autism, and all of that, high functioning, low functioning. And it's really interesting that when my 9-year-old, who is non-speaking, when she was a toddler, she's just this bright, incredible, beautiful little girl who communicates just differently. But she's probably what you'd expect as, you know, a textbook case of autism. People who don't know anything about autism would meet her and know that she's autistic. Here come the birds.
I was going to say, the birds are so loud.
Sounds like something off The Wizard of Oz.
Jurassic Park.
Yes. And I remember when she was little, you know, the way she would move her body and the verbal stims, and I'd see patterns that she'd get into, and I understood it all. I remember, you know, not knowing I was autistic, but asking myself, how do I understand what she's doing? Like I'd watch her get into a loop where she'd have to touch certain things in the lounge room, and it wasn't to the point that it was OCD, but it was like a mini ritual. And I'd watch her and go, oh yeah, I see what's going on. And I just got it, and it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things about autism that don't bother me, that I just get. But if you are not autistic or neurodivergent and you come into parenting neurodivergent children, there's a lot of things that upset parents or have them panic because it's such a new experience and it's so foreign. And I see that sometimes well-intentioned professionals can feed into that. And I see a lot of families unnecessarily worried about things that their children do or think or say. Yeah.
In our the new nurturing autism program that we're going to be doing soon, I call that textbook syndrome. Because it's just the complete medical model that professionals teach parents, and then parents go out into the wider community believing all of these things from the textbook syndrome professionals, and start using the same language, you know, start using the same descriptions, start talking about the things that they've been told that are wrong and that need to be changed, like social skills. And that's just genuinely not the parents' fault. It's the whole textbook syndrome that is just creating a society of people who believe that autism is wrong.
It's initiation, isn't it? It's like, this is the family initiation. We take our children because that's what we know to do. The first thing I read was the red flags. So that's the beginning. You know, it's not characteristics of autism. When I was researching, it was, here are the red flags. And of course, my child had a couple of them, and that set off this alarmist approach, panic. And then exactly what you're saying, Jodie, you know, you go to professionals and it's kind of a negative thing. No one ever would say, oh, that's okay, they're just autistic. They're just a different kind of person. So here's a great community to tap into. That's what we need more of.
Totally agree.
Absolutely.
Textbook autism, I mean, it doesn't really describe any autistic people, does it?
No.
There's no applied learning in there. There's just biased, non-autistic observation of our behaviour and gross assumptions made about why we do the things we do. And there it is in a book. So even autistic people read that stuff and go, that's not me. I can't relate to that. Because it's not really accurate.
It's so out of date as well, isn't it? Everything's just so dated now. So I was thinking about what you just said as well, because James, my son, he wasn't diagnosed as until he was, I think it was 12 or 13. And I did actually try and get James diagnosed when he was younger, but I talk about this in our nurturing program, that advocacy program, I wish I'd pushed harder, because he actually had a really difficult time at school. But what I realise now is, because when James got diagnosed, it said that he had, I can't remember the language in his diagnosis, but, you know, significant degree of ADHD. And I think that because I am ADHD, I didn't realise how significant it was, because all the stuff he was doing, I just thought, that's all stuff I did when I was a kid. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just what kids do. And he'd come out, I'd remember picking him up from school and the teachers calling me over and saying, oh, you know, he's painted his shoes today. I'm like, oh, cool. Like,
Yeah.
I want him to paint the paper. And it's like, oh, right, okay. So again, it was like, I don't think that I kind of realised how ADHD James was, because it was just what I was like as a kid, you know, very active, you know, daydreaming, thinking, oh, it's just what normal kids do. So
yeah,
I think that's why Stanley's teachers get really frustrated with me when they call me up constantly to complain about him, because everything they tell me I just laugh at. I'm like, I'm really sorry, but why do you find that annoying? I would find that so funny.
Yeah,
that's the kind of things that I used to do in school, and I just know that I can just literally transform myself back there every time a teacher phones me and think I did exactly the same things.
Get a life, teacher.
I didn't even know that I met the criteria for ADHD until last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Was it last year or the year before? Maybe the year before. How old am I? I don't know. Yeah, recently anyway. Yeah. I mean, I always had, and I do have textbook characteristics of ADHD, but I still didn't know. And I think that has a lot to do with gender stereotypes.
Yeah, I agree.
If I had been, I truly believe, if I had been a male child, it would have been picked up very, very quickly. But yeah, I was just seen as troubled or disturbed or bad home life or trauma or, you know, lots of things. Or glandular fever. I had glandular fever as a child, so I was chronically ill a lot. And I mean, it was the 80s and 90s. We just didn't know anything. We still don't know much, but we know more. But
are you an ADHD trainer as well? Do you do training on ADHD?
Not really, no.
See, I'm an ADHD trainer, and I've been standing up reading all the characteristics, thinking, yeah, that's a bit like me. And I remember when I worked in my school, we got this brilliant ADHD trainer in, and my friend Andrea, who's now my business partner, just looked at me and went, that's you in training. And I was like, but yeah, I'm reading a really good book at the moment that my other friend Andrea recommended, Scattered Minds. I don't know if you've read that, about ADHD. It's really good, and I'm just reading it going, oh my god, that's me. Yeah, so it's
really interesting when you have, I mean, because for me there's also PDA. I kind of think that PDA is this weird crossover between autism and ADHD, to be honest. But knowing where one thing begins and another ends, I think it's just,
you can't, can you? You can't.
No, and I don't know if that's even a thing, to be honest. I think we just all have different personalities and quality characteristics, and we just happen to meet criteria for different diagnose. I mean, I don't even, it's the fact that it's a diagnosis. It just reminds me of when the LGBT community, gay people were considered mentally ill by the exam.
But it was Chloe that mentioned this in one of our conferences. She said, you don't get diagnosed gay, do you? You don't get diagnosed as being homosexual. So why do you have to get diagnosed as being autistic or ADHD? It's just what you are, who you are. Why do you need a diagnosis?
And then I think there are people that jump on the bandwagon of, well, you know, my child is severely autistic, they're non-speaking and they're not independent and they have significant support needs, but they're not severely autistic, they're severely apraxic or severely dyspraxic, or they have co-occurring conditions.
Yeah.
So it's not just autism. So I think that this is the fallacy around functioning labels as well. And when we, you know, I look at my child who, and there's 4 of them, the little darlings, and they're all so completely different. But my 9-year-old, I look at her and I don't see anything that the textbooks say about severe autism.
Yeah. Same
And
with
the shame is that so many people believe that their intelligence is congruent with the way they move their bodies or the fact that they don't speak. And it's so pathologizing and it's so insulting. Yeah, it's very problematic.
Yeah, I think I'd really like to think, you know, obviously our understanding, going back to what you were just saying, Kristy, about, you know, homosexuality used to be in the DSM, used to be, you know, we that is so shocking now to people. I really hope that in years' time, in the future, we'll look back and say, oh my God, like, what were we doing? What were we doing labeling these people? It's just wrong.
I kind of feel like that now.
Sorry, Jodie. I think the struggle at the moment is that because it's so misunderstood, we need that label to get the support.
Yes, I agree.
That's the really difficult thing, especially in schools where we're just put on like a production line and, you know, manufactured like cars. We don't need that anymore. You know, we're not in the war anymore. We're not back in those old ages. Make these children, you know, products of whatever they want us to be. We just need people to be allowed to be who they are and find their own paths in life. And we don't need to learn the same subjects that we were learning 25 years ago when I was in school. We need to be able to be ourselves and find our own paths. Because, I mean, take me, for example, when I was a child, looking back on it, people used to say to me, what did you want to be when you grew up? And I used to say, oh, I wanted to be a writer. And then I would say, oh, actually, but one time I wanted to be a masseuse. Then I wanted to be a chef. Then I wanted to travel the world. I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do when I was younger. And it's only now that I found my actual path. And I'm absolutely in the best place that I've ever been in my life. And I didn't go to school. I'd done my GCSEs, but I didn't learn anything from them. I genuinely never. I don't even remember what grades I got. I know I got a B in one of my English lessons, but that was the only one I remember because it was good. And I didn't have any idea I was going to get that grade whatsoever. But I haven't used any of those grades for anything that I've done after leaving school. And I'm quite successful in what I do. You know? And I get people coming to me all the time saying, but what about these exams and what about
the GCSEs?
Just don't need them yet. Just if they're not ready, they're not ready, and they can do them at 46 if they want.
Yeah,
there are so many.
Education gets me so riled up.
Oh, me too. I mean, I left school at 15. And that was after being on various behavioural modification programs. I think I told you, did I tell you about the conduct cards I used to have? So they started off, they put me on a blue conduct card, and that was a level 1 card. This is at high school. And I'd have to take it to every single class. And the teacher would have to make a comment about how I behaved in the room and sign it. And so, of course, because I'm PDA and ADHD and autistic, but my PDA meant that was just, can you imagine? Can you imagine having someone comment on your behavior? And adults can be very immature as well. It doesn't matter that they're teachers. It doesn't matter that they're educated people. There are educators that will take a disliking to some students. And many of my teachers didn't like me. So I would get things written on that card that were not accurate. Or I'd get things written on the card that was an assumption about the way I moved my body or the facial expression I had because I'm autistic. They thought I was being a smart ass
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
you know, so then I was elevated up to level 2. Actually, level 1 was a bright yellow card. Level 2 was a pink card. And that meant that I had to have my breaks in the principal's office and somebody would comment on my behaviour in every class. Yeah, so I started not going to school and then I was put into isolation. I was put into this room with a supervising teacher outside the glass window. I was not allowed to speak to anybody. I had to get to school at a different time. I had to be escorted by a teacher everywhere I went. I was not allowed to have any contact with my peers.
That's awful.
That's terrible.
It was so bad that, yeah, I won't go into it, but it only caused me to be suicidal. And at 15, I left school, you know, and I hear this from parents all the time too. But what about school? How do I get my child to do the work that the teachers are setting? We keep giving our children who are disabled in many ways the responsibility for their disability.
Yeah.
And it's so unfair and it's so unrealistic. I left school. I had a baby as a teenager. I became homeless. I was drug and alcohol addicted. So I was probably the worst case scenario, every parent's nightmare. But here I am today. And, you know, everybody defines success differently. I don't like the word, to be honest, but I'm happy.
Yeah.
Beautiful family. I'm happy. I went back to school as an adult. I went to uni, have a couple of degrees and a couple of companies. But even if I didn't have those degrees and didn't have those companies, I would still be happy. And I know I don't encourage people to just let their children go off and be drug addicts or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But there are so many paths to how we define success in our lives and how we find happiness. School is not everything.
No, it's not. It's not. I've got this, I do this exercise in my ADHD training actually, and I asked the people attending, right, I say, can you write me a list of the characteristics of a really good student? So they say things like they sit still, they listen to instructions, they bring their equipment in, they're punctual, they're on time, they don't call out, all these things. And I'm like, right, now let's look at the list of characteristics of a child who has ADHD. How can they match the things on that list? And it's not their fault. It's not their fault they can't sit still. It's not I mean, the number of detentions that James used to get at school for forgetting things.
Oh no.
And it's like, he has ADHD. He can't remember these things. You know, I can't remember what I go into a room for. You know, how is James going to remember to like take all his stuff into school? He can't, the boy cannot sit still. Do you know what? He went back to work this week. And he's been off work for ages because he broke his ankle really badly before Christmas. He had it all pinned back together. So he's gone back to work this week. They bloody love him at his work. He is up there. He helps on a huge estate, this massive estate near us. And he's just got his own little tractor thing that he goes around on. He's got his jet washer and he was jet washing the tennis courts. They bloody love him up there. And it's just because he's outside. And when I went to pick him up once, and the guy called me over. My brother works up there. My brother said the guy that runs it he does not suffer fools gladly at all. James will have to really pull his weight. And he called me over and he said, you've got a really good kid there. He's a really good kid. He's such a lovely boy. He's a real hard worker. I was like, I don't really hear that very much about James, you know? And I was like, yeah, I know. He's bloody brilliant. But yeah, school, just hated school, just couldn't do it.
Yeah, he's free now. He can be who he is.
So much happier.
Sandra says, I'd love to hear Kristy's take on the crossover of PDA and ADHD.
Well, I'm not a clinical psychologist, so I mean, this is my experience only and my personal observations, so it doesn't mean that it's true. But I have consulted with hundreds and hundreds of families whose children are PDA autistic, and there seems to be a common theme of the child meeting criteria for ADHD and autism. And I've often wondered whether PDA is a result of those two identities crossing over. That's just a curiosity I have more than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I often wonder with Lola, where does the PDA start and end, and where does the ADHD start and end? Because there is so much crossover, absolutely so much, and you can't unpick it. It's like I said to Laura the other day when she kind of asked me about how we manage, you know, when there's difficulties in the home, where do we kind of manage the PDA and where do we manage the ADHD? And I said, well, it's more complicated than that. You just manage the need as it arises, and it is just, you know, waiting for those needs to arise and then meeting them, and everything is just so intrinsic with Lola. It's just like a cobweb, you know. Where do you begin in a cobweb? Just have to.
Well, I mean, this highlights the importance of just tuning into the child, the individual, rather than the diagnosis, because
exactly.
You know, in Australia, we have a couple of professionals who are not autistic or don't identify as autistic or anything like that. And, you know, for a while, the point I want to make is, for a long time, the best professional development educators in this country have had access to are non-autistic adults telling them, well, when a child is autistic, you need a visual timer, you need to make dot points on the board, give them a visual schedule and lots of reminders. And for many children, that's really, really helpful, but this is the problem with people not understanding neurodivergence as identity and culture and purely as a medical disorder, because it's not a disease that we treat everybody the same to help. It is a varied expression of human. So you can take 2 or 3 autistic people and we will all be completely different. We share characteristics and some characteristics we don't share, but we all identify as autistic. There are so many children who hate visual schedules, who find it more pressure than anything, and it escalates anxiety. The timer on the desk would make me want to throw it through the window. Dot points on the board would be helpful for me, but we are all completely different. And the problem is we continue to skim over the surface and go, autism, generic framework, we'll apply it to every child, instead of going, okay, so here's little Jenny. Jenny's strengths are bam, bam, bam. How can we support that? And here are her challenges. So let's be mindful of those. Let's ask the family who know her best how we can accommodate those. But not only that, we've got to stop with this ridiculous myth that there is a small window of opportunity for autistic children to get the help they need to set them up for life. That is absolute BS. We are human beings. Intervention, horrible word. Early supports is so much nicer and more respectful. But how about, just like all human beings, we take the autistic child and we recognise that across their lifespan, their needs, their strengths, their challenges, their supports and accommodations will fluctuate and change from moment to moment. And paying attention to that instead of going, autism, speech, pathology, OT and psych for the first 5 years, really intensive, and then they're good for life. And if you don't give them enough of it before they're 5, then that's your problem, parent. You did wrong by them.
Yeah.
That is so awful, isn't it?
Terrible.
And that's the best we can offer families at the moment.
Yeah, it is.
And it's so dehumanizing. It's so disconnecting. It's so disempowering. And it has parents feeling like they are so inadequate that they could never know what their children need because they don't know anything about this thing that's separate from their child called autism. And that is so wrong. The child is still this incredible little person that they've always known and loved.
And the thing is as well, it's like we were saying earlier, it's almost like you're trying to fix the problem. You're trying to fix the problem, make them less autistic so that they fit in, when actually we should just be embracing, like, look at this amazing person. Yeah. Like, you know, we shouldn't be trying to, it's that square peg round hole analogy, isn't it? We've spoken about before. So yeah.
Joanne says, curious about your thoughts. Do parents who are neurotypical have a disadvantage parenting a child who is autistic? I sometimes wonder if it's easier to parent an autistic child if yourself are autistic. I'm not so sure about being able to parent better, but understand better, maybe. I mean, I find parenting a huge, overwhelming struggle sometimes. And yeah.
I think
I'm not being rude, by the way. I'm just trying to tell the people that are watching on the past page to come over to the Autism with Love page, and I'm trying to tag
Say
you.
it out loud, Laura.
Sorry?
Tell them out loud.
Yeah, I can't. I'm being rude. Come over to Autism with Love if you're watching on a different page, because that's where we're picking up your comments. So you're going to think we're ignoring you, and we're not deliberately ignoring you. But come to Autism with Love. Sorry, I interrupted there.
Oh, that is so rude, Laura.
I do that a lot.
You're going to have to find some intervention for that.
Yeah, I didn't have it before I was 5. It's too late now.
I'm different. I tend to not talk enough because I'm worried about interrupting. So I'm like, I'm going to wait for that quiet moment, then I'll jump in.
Oh, you'll never get an opportunity with me.
So I just say, when do you get a chance to jump in with me?
Just jump over the top of me, Jodie. Please just butt in, because I won't stop. On the parenting thing, I think it really depends. I started out as a cure parent. And I think because my initiation was that autism was bad, I had a child who was non-speaking, who was obviously autistic. So the prognosis that we were given was that, you know, she would never be independent. And so I found myself in a culture of cure mentality. And so not knowing that I was autistic and having masked all of my life, because a lot of us come from, you know, long family histories of neurodivergence, but we've focused on isolated parts like chronic anxiety. So we might say Uncle John had bad nerves, or Auntie Judy just liked a bit of a drink, you know, because they were masking away their discomfort of being a human in this world where they may have been neurodivergent. So I came into it not knowing I was autistic, thinking that I was a non-autistic parent of autistic children. And I found that excruciating because I felt very disconnected and disempowered. So I think it depends on your narrative. But I mean, I think it depends on the culture that you have in your home as well. We have positive autistic identity at home, and we do not entertain the idea of being less than or that we are broken versions of neurotypical people. But I also think there are a hell of a lot of parents out there that believe they're neurotypical and they're not. So I don't think that that is a straight yes or no around whether it's easier or not, because we also have sensory issues, and I'm demand avoidant. So my children's needs are a demand sometimes. Yeah, it's different for all of us, isn't it?
I found that a huge struggle this week, actually, because Connie's been bugging me for a long time for me to take her out on a walk. And I'm a home person. I don't really do walking. You know, I'll walk to my car to drive somewhere, but that's probably about as far as I go. And I don't know why, but I can't sometimes make that transition. I find it really difficult. Like earlier on in the kitchen, I was due to come into the office to come to work, and I really couldn't be bothered. Now my office is like 10 steps away from my house. And as soon as I realised that my sliders were at the door, I was like, oh, brilliant, I just put them on and go up there. But before, when I thought, oh, I've got to go and get my socks, put my shoes on, I just couldn't be bothered. And that made it so much easier for me, just that little accommodation that I could just slide on my sliders. And I've been saying to Connie, yeah, I'll take you for a walk later. I'll take you for a walk. And the more she asked me, the more of a demand it became. And then I started making excuses for her. And she really pinned me down tonight. She was like, Mummy, you said you would take me for a walk. You promised. And I was like, right, if I don't do this now, I am never going to do it. So I just got my shoes on and went, right, come on, we're going. And then Stan went, do you want to ride my scooter, Mum? And I was like, yes, please. And I got on his electric scooter and I rode down there. Oh, it was, and you know, we were down there for 10 minutes. I was like, come on, we're going back home now. We've done our walk.
Yeah.
We've walked the car and back.
Yeah, that's all over. I don't like being exposed. Like, I don't. Once I'm out there and I'm walking, I enjoy it. I love the fresh air and the sounds and everything. But I don't like being exposed to humanity. There's something very unsettling about being out there. And
well, you see, I'm kind of the opposite. So I talk to everybody.
Oh, are you, Laura?
I'm not saying I'm better. I'm not saying I'm better. But when I go, you have to talk to everybody. Like, particularly if someone's got a dog, I'm like, oh, that's a nice dog. What dog is that? Oh, can I talk to your dog? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, we've got 2 dogs too. Where are your dogs from? And Steve's like, oh my God, can we just walk?
It's exactly the same. Oh my God. I'm like, are you shitting me? Like, can you not just walk? Just get to the place we need to go so I can hide under a blanket, and then you can go off and talk to whoever you want to talk to. Oh.
Yeah, I'm like that sometimes. That must be in the moments where the ADHD is up here and the autism's down there. Depends on how I feel within. Yeah.
You know, Steve asked me the other day, we're having a cabin built in the back garden, but
copycat.
Yeah, just because I love Jodie's cabin. I wanted to move into Jodie's cabin, but she wouldn't let me because it hasn't got a toilet. And I do need the toilet a lot.
Yes.
So we're having this cabin built, and just because of where our house is, we needed to ask these people that I've never spoken to before if the lorry could pull up on their drive to unload the cabin. So Steve said, could you go around and talk to them because you're better at that sort of thing than me? He said, he watched me pull up and he said, I saw you go back to your car twice, because I forgot my pen. And then he was like, you've been just chatting to them for about half an hour, so I saw you getting a tour around their garden. I was like, yes. The garden's amazing. It's got this stream running through it, and I came back with 6 footballs as well. So I like read the top. I was like, let me in with all these footballs. He's like, I've been watching you from the bedroom window. Never met them before. They're my best friends. But
I just can't do it. I can't do small talk. I had a meeting the other day with Stanley's, we were building his EHCP, so we were in an EHCP planning meeting. And this case officer loved small talk, and every second thing she told me was a story from her past, and I'm literally just sitting there in complete agony thinking, please just move on. And she's telling me about her dog and her sister's neighbour and, you know, her auntie's daughter. And I'm like,
oh, was she neurodivergent?
I saw something really interesting the day, and I realised that I do this all the time. And it's something that I do, and I realise that I'm doing it, and then I feel really guilty afterwards for doing it. But if someone tells me a story about something's happened, I will tell a similar story. And it's not because I'm trying to one up them. It's like, I just want them to know that I really understand it.
Yes, that's a very good neurodivergent quality.
Yeah. And I think people think, oh gosh, she's always got to tell us her stories. And I'm like,
Make that about herself.
yeah, but I'm not doing it because I want to one up. It's like, yeah, I really get where you're coming from, because that's something really similar has happened to me, but I'm doing it thinking, Laura, shut up. But my mouth.
I'd love to. Since I've had my kids and they've grown up and we're not at that kind of huge meltdown every 3 seconds in a supermarket stage, when I do go out, when I have those moments where I need to go shopping or something, and I see parents with children who are struggling, I make sure that I help those parents out. That was my worst when I was, dealing with a toddler and a baby, and Lola as a PDA when she was 3 years old was this complete whirlwind of charged up energy. And oh my God, it was such a struggle. And I managed it solo. And then I would get home and want to die. But I never had no help. Nobody came to help me in those moments of crisis. And it was obviously just because she was presumed a naughty, spoiled child. When she wasn't, she was really struggling. And I've met so many families in supermarkets since. And I'm like, are you okay? Do you need help? Can I take your shopping? Can I pick your other kid up? What do you need me to do? And just the relief on their face is absolute. And even if they don't want any physical help, just them knowing that somebody actually isn't judging them is all that they needed. That's a really important thing for me to do. I actually look for families who need help. I'm like, where are they?
Here's the family helper in the supermarket. Yeah.
Trying to take your children up.
I've got a comment.
There's a child. I need to take someone's child. I find those
child catcher. Come on.
You should start roughing up with a pram with no child in it. That'd be awesome. Where's the child? Hop in my pram. I find those parents often go to tears when you show them that compassion.
I know. Yeah, because yeah. And they say that autistic people don't have empathy. There you go.
Kristy, how does a parent with PDA cope with a child who has PDA? I feel like my PDA child basically demands things of me all day. Does the parenting instinct to care for the child override the impulse to avoid the demands put on you?
No. No. No, I'm not this. Yeah, I think people. Yeah, I'm definitely not this super nurturing, amazing parent that can override my neurobiology. Oh no. I love my children to death, but there are times where I raise my voice, for sure. I make mistakes all the time. I say and do things I don't want to do because I'm a human being. And even if you're not neurodivergent, you're going to do that because guess what? We're humans. And if you never want to make mistakes, then you are the wrong species, because we don't get a get out of jail free card from that. I think it depends on the kind of PDA expression, because for me, I am more of an assertive, aggressive PDA. Like one of my children, actually 2 of my children are like me, and the other 2 are like my husband. Very placid, very quiet, very fawny, whereas the other 2 and I are fighters. So we have PDA culture in our house, and we use a lot of humor and a lot of silliness. And I guess I parent in a way that a lot of people might think I have moments of being inappropriate, where I will say things and do things being silly, but that's how we get through it. So, we have this thing we do in our house where if one of us asks another to do something and we have a PDA response, we just go, nah, not doing it. And it's a bit of a joke, but we're being serious, and it's how we communicate that in that moment we're unable to do that thing, and we just hear it and accept it. but also I'm very honest with my children. So there are times where, this is why it's great to have that open, evolving conversation about PDA in the house, my PDA, your PDA, because I can say to my children, oh no, I don't want to do that. No, you're PDAing me. No. And my kids get it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they feel disappointed. Sometimes they will one up and just be like, oh no, I want to do this now. And I'll go, oh, fine. Or I might say, I wonder if there's a way we can both be happy here. You know, like, I have so many different approaches, so many different tools, but there are times where I just go, my kids and my family know past 4 p.m. my head is full, and if I'm pushed, it's not a good outcome. So my headphones often go on after 4. I don't have anything playing, but I just have noise cancelling on, and I will communicate. I feel really overwhelmed now, and I feel a bit meltdowny, and you'll know because I'll be stimming with my hands, and I'll be shaking my hands and going, oh, this is a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. And so they'll know, okay, mum needs a bit of space. I don't always get the space, but we're going to have moments where it doesn't look like the Partridge Family, or it doesn't look like Little House on the Prairie. No one's family looks like that.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, come on.
It doesn't.
Come on. I mean, no. And I never, ever, ever in any of my trainings or my writing or anything, any of my programs, I never paint myself to be a parent who has it all together or has all the answers or lives in complete harmony all the time. You can be a happy family and thriving and have moments where you hate each other's guts. Honestly. It's not
it's
easy.
healthy to admit that too.
Yeah, it's so healthy.
It you know, if we're just portraying this amazing family life where we've got it all together, we're just setting everybody else up for failure, and that's just not fair, is it? Especially when you do have your platforms and, you know, your people are listening to you and reading about you daily. It's really important to be truthful and honest and admit. And you know, I always find it really helpful in the programs that we deliver to always say, you know, don't be afraid to say sorry. Don't be afraid to say, you know, especially to your children, I'm really sorry I shouted. I just was not feeling great. I needed my space and I was very stressed out. And, you know, my children really react great to when I apologize to them. They're like, oh, it's okay, mummy, don't worry. And that breaks my heart even more. But it's not just being honest with them. You're also giving them the tools that they need. You're being a role model. Because it's really important that children are able to see you make mistakes and learn from them.
And you can also say things. Sorry, Kristy. Sorry.
We're reinforcing trust by doing that as well. Sorry, Laura.
No, I was just going to say, and I think to be able to say, you know, like what you were both saying, you know, do you know what? I'm feeling really stressed at the moment. I'm feeling really anxious. I just need to be on my own, or I just need to go outside and I just need 5 minutes and some deep breaths. You're destigmatizing those emotions as well, because I think a lot of children think it's wrong to get angry. It's wrong to show your anger and your anxiety, and it's absolutely not. We've got to let them see that it's healthy to do that. So us being able to say, yeah, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling stressed, I'm going to go outside, just give me 5 minutes and I come back. You're destigmatizing it, and you're also role modeling a healthy way to deal with it. And I'm so with you on apologizing, Jodie. So important, because again, you're role modeling. It's okay to make mistakes as well.
Yeah, it's okay to apologize, to change our minds, to negotiate. All that stuff is okay. It is so important. And I know there is so much perpetuation by the media, by social media, so many platforms tell us that they just kind of promote rigidity in parenting more than anything. Stick to your guns or they'll take over the planet. And it's like, we're teaching them self-advocacy. We're teaching our children to communicate when they need space. Yeah.
I've got a comment from Jean. I think it's Jean or Jean or Jean. What is your view on Simon Baron-Cohen's research that we are all on the autistic spectrum with diagnosis for the most extreme end? If this were widely known and supported, there would be no need for the NT-ND divide, and hopefully there would be less discrimination.
No, don't like it. Nah, not doing it.
Hi, Bobby. Thanks for your stars.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not a fan.
I had a really, really good way of describing that. Someone was saying, if someone was wearing a t-shirt, how did they describe it? If someone was wearing a t-shirt that was red and you said, oh, I like your t-shirt, it's a little bit rainbow. That's like the similar thing of just putting everyone on the spectrum. Do you know what I mean? It's actually, yes, you can say some of us have got characteristics which are similar to autistic people, but I totally agree. It's wrong to say we're all autistic.
It's so dismissive and invalidating. And it's like saying, if you get a haircut and trim your nails, you're an amputee.
Yes.
It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. And it's, yeah, I don't like it at all. We are the only species that feel this drive to all be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like biodiversity, people, there's forests full of different species of trees, and they're all just trees and they all need different things. Animals, human beings are the only species that have this drive to be this one model where we all strive to be that thing, and we're not supposed to be. That's an airplane. I live next to the airport.
I say, what is that noise?
Oh, do you live next to the airport?
I do, aren't I lucky? The birds, the planes, Superman will come along next.
I used to live next to a train track.
Oh, beautiful.
Literally right next to it too. Bobby has just had her autism assessment over 2 hours, so she's brain fried. Bless Bobby. Message me and let me know how it goes or how it went.
I found my ADHD assessment really difficult to sit through at the end. I was like, yeah, come on, it's been a really long time. I was thinking they should really make this ADHD assessment a bit quicker for these ADHD people that have got to sit and concentrate for all this time.
Yeah.
2 hours of time.
Thank you to everybody who sent stars.
I don't know what that means.
What does that mean?
So there's an option on my page to receive stars when we go live. And it's like you buy these stars on Facebook, and then when you watch live videos, you can send the creators of the videos stars, which amounts to money.
Oh.
Yeah, you can probably get it on your page, Kristy. I use mine to help out families who are struggling financially, so they need help with advocacy. So anything that I get through my stars goes back in to help parents when they can't afford our services.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Bobby always sends lots of stars.
Yeah, Bobby's on a 6-week streak now, Bobby. Thank you, Lindsay and Samara. Okay, right.
Isn't it lovely when you say these names and I have a good idea of who they are? Isn't it lovely when you know your community?
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah, it's so, and I think that's one of the things, actually, I was thinking about this the other day as well, that I think in the last 8 months, I really feel like I really found my tribe again. And I think that's been really important to me. So my husband is texting me to say that the internet is not working properly. He needs to reboot it because his Xbox isn't working properly and he's very stressed.
Oh, God love him. God bless them, aren't they?
That's
Just
my
Tell him we're finished.
52-year-old teenage husband. Huh?
Bet Kristy wants to go and get another coffee, don't you, Kristy?
no, just the one for me.
Oh, just one.
Only one per day. Otherwise, I get a bit sweaty and shaky.
Yeah, I'm the
Yeah, I have
same.
decaf after my 2 normals.
I was always decaf until my last child was born. And that says volumes about me and nothing about her.
No. Oh, okay. Well, oh God, we've got to do this again. We like to talk, don't we? Oh, I love these chats.
I love
It's
these
so
chats.
nice.
Yeah, I think we
I
should.
really hate that all of the best people that I connect with, all of my just the best people are in the UK.
Well, what does that
What-
mean, Kristy?
It means you're in the UK.
No, but what is it? You need to come to Australia. You need to come to the UK. No, it's because I'm obsessed with Australia at the
You're
moment.
tired, Laura, aren't you?
I am so tired. No, Kristy, you need to come. I'm not actually, no, Kristy, I'm not going to say you need to come to the UK because that'd be very demanding. Kristy,
No,
you would
it's not.
absolutely
I'm
love
not-
it if you came to the UK.
I'm not triggered by that at all. I would love to go to the UK. Can we just finish up by touching on maths for a second?
Mhm.
Married at First Sight, your favourite show, Laura.
Yes, I'm going to watch it next. I love it.
Don't watch that because I feel like that is the cesspit of all the worst forms of humanity. But you know, I do watch Teen Mum, if you don't hardly mind, and Kardashians, bless them, love them. So
Yeah.
I'm not better than you, but I am a bit. But watching Married at First Sight last year, I think it was, I caught a glimpse as I was going through the channels and I spotted my cousin's ex-boyfriend on there.
Did you? As one of the people on it? Oh, wow. Oh, message me off air and say who it was in case, yeah. See, I love that because I love watching people. I find it fascinating. I think actually this series I'm a bit disappointed with because I feel it's more scripted, but I just love Australia. It just looks so amazing, like all the beaches. I just want to come to Australia so much, Kristy.
Why don't you?
Well, we're going to.
Yeah,
We will. Yeah.
definitely.
I'd
do
love
it.
to be back. It was amazing when I went.
Mm.
a long
Yes,
time
you've
ago.
been here, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been as well, but a long time ago.
Yeah, I
Because
was
you're
13.
absolutely fascinated by school uniforms.
That was me, yes. I wanted to wear the school
Yeah.
uniform. I might get one. I might get one for our lives.
Oh
Kristy,
my
imagine.
God.
Jodie, can you imagine us on a plane together for 24 hours?
No. Oh my God. I definitely need diazepam for that flight.
Diazepam for you and a bit of Ritalin for you down there, Laura.
I'll be like, hi, the person next to me, Jodie Isitt. Hi, I've been to Australia before. Yes, I've been to Australia before. Do you like the uniform that we wear?
When are we landing? When are we there yet?
Up and have you seen the movie Bridesmaids?
Yes, I love it.
Well, Laura, you could be the main person, the main woman on there who gets up. Kristen Wiig, how she goes traveling.
Yeah, when she
Stu, is that even a name? Help me, I'm poor. You could go around making friends with everybody without the alcohol.
That would be me.
Get a tour go down to the cockpit and get a tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you know what? I have to watch that film because I love to laugh.
Have you seen it?
I've seen it, but it gives me the most brilliant laughing sessions in the world, especially when they go into that bride's shop and
when they
oh my God. I was dying. Oh, I can literally just see the whole thing now. I'm going to have to go in and watch it because I need to laugh.
I can't believe I just said that live on. That's the echolalia coming through. That and the 40-Year-Old Virgin, another favourite of mine, and
I haven't seen that.
Oh my God, that's great, Laura. You need to watch.
Laura, go and watch it, please.
Okay, I'll report back.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I'm going to go and
do.
watch Maths now.
Yes. I am
Lose
going to go and
my
watch
step.
Bridesmaids.
All right then. Should we do it again soon?
Yes. Kristy,
Lovely to
let's
catch
talk
up.
about making a regular Us show, because this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It is.
Yeah. Let's talk. Well, have a lovely day. You're just starting
You
yours.
too.
We're ending ours, so I'm going to go and have my
Yes.
snap. Kristy from the future.
Pardon?
Kristy from the
Oh.
future.
Yes, I am. I'm from the future. All right. That means that it's time to go.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.